All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to PodXperience. What I guess this is what, the fourth or the fifth one now?
February, March, April,
Sixth
May,
one.
June, July, sixth
one now, and this is the first one that we're doing all via Zoom. Usually this is a hybrid event. We do some in person, some via Zoom, and for the summer we felt like it was easier this time to do it all here in Zoom. We will be back to a schedule where we will be doing the hybrid thing again soon. We'll keep everyone posted and have more about that later. First, if you don't mind, put in the chat where you are located. Would love to see where everybody is coming from. Last month, we had people from as far as England, I believe. So yeah, curious to see where everyone's from. And of course, we also usually get a lot of people from the New Jersey, New York area. And so it's, oh, here we go. Bali, UK. There you go. Bali might be the furthest since we've been doing this. So that's cool. Welcome, and welcome to all of our US people here as well. We got another England. That's cool. Well, welcome. And today we're really excited to share, as all of us as podcasters, we're really excited to share some of our favorite tools, the things that help us be a little more efficient, save us some more time, etc. And we think that this will really be helpful to you as well. My name is Mark Ronick. I've been podcasting for about 20 years now. I have a podcast production and consulting company. Been doing that since right before the pandemic. Had no idea the pandemic would yield so many podcasters, and that actually was a great blessing to my business and really helped me kick things off. And yeah, I've been doing it ever since. I also do a morning show, a podcast, every Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern, called the Podcasting Morning Chat. That's actually how Stacy and I first connected. And I do that live every day at 7 a.m. Eastern time. And we do it on the good old app Clubhouse. And then we put it out as a podcast a couple hours later. So if you haven't checked it out, please go check that out. And let me hand the virtual mic over to Stacy. Stacy, why don't you introduce yourself, tell everybody a little bit about you.
Yes, so I'm so glad everybody's here. I recognize some faces and names. And for those who don't know me, I'm Stacy Sherman. I have a company called Doing Customer Experience Right. CX is the acronym. And it's all about how do you actually get loyal fans who come back and tell others, whether that's podcasting, whether that's business, all kinds of revenue producing opportunities. And I believe customer experience is at the forefront. And so excited to have our sixth community with Elizabeth. And as we call it, PodXperience. Love sharing knowledge, love bringing the group together to give and get value. So don't be shy, please contribute and enjoy today.
Okay, and I'm Elizabeth. Yeah, I'm Elizabeth Gearhart. So Stacy and I met in New York, although we both live in New Jersey, about 20 minutes from each other. And we both wanted to start a meetup. I had a radio show with my husband, Richard Gearhart, on iHeartRadio and now nationally syndicated for 6 years. And we were doing a lot with the show. And then over COVID, we kept doing the show, but we had been going into New York, into the iHeart studios. And
1 second, let's everybody, if you don't mind, please mute. Yes. If you can't stay muted, unfortunately, we'd have to ask you to head out. But I know there's a bunch of people in here that are left as unmuted. If you don't mind, please hit that mute button because it causes a lot of echo and such. It would be really helpful. Thanks. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Yeah. Okay. So Richard and I have been doing the radio show on iHeart. It's for entrepreneurs for the last 6 years. During COVID, we couldn't go into the iHeart studios in New York anymore. So Richard put together a studio in the law firm building upstairs. And last fall, I decided that I wanted to rent it out to other people. So we decided to remodel it. And that's when I went to PodFest, a mini tour, and met Stacy and said, I want to start a meetup to see if anybody would be interested in renting the studio. So she and I started the meetup together. We each bring different skills and talents. We brought Mark in to manage the Zoom, which has been a godsend because we're usually in the room. And So I've been studying podcasting now for the last year or more, like really in depth. Before that, I was doing marketing for Gearhart Law, which is my husband's law firm, Richard Gearhart. He does patents, trademarks, and copyrights. He's going to talk a little bit about copyright today with images on the internet. And I'm using my marketing experience for this meetup and also for this coaching business. I'm starting a coaching business here in New Jersey for people that are using my studio. So that's my story.
Awesome. Well, do you ladies want to get started? You want to start sharing here?
Yes, let me get. So I had promised to show people how I use Canva. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to start from the very beginning. So.
And while you're pulling that up, everybody, why don't you let us know how many years have you been podcasting? And if you are just getting started, you can put 0. That's fine too. But put in the chat how many years you've been podcasting. Oh, we got somebody with 8.
Ooh, good. So this is my Canva account. You can see I have a lot of designs in here. This is one, this didn't actually come out this way. That's what I posted on LinkedIn. So I use this for LinkedIn and also for podcasting. But I wanted to start from the beginning. I do have a paid account. When I started 4 or 5 years ago using Canva, everything was free. Now I think you have to pay $120 a month for a pro account. They do say you get a free trial for 30 days, but then they say there's a free option. So I'm not really sure where they're at with that right now. But the pro option is really good for me. So what I usually do if I want to start something new is I go up here, and there are different ways to approach this. This is just how I do it. I'm totally self-taught on this. Create a design. And now, as you can see, you can create a design for almost any format that you want. But since podcast art needs to be uploaded as a square, we'll do an Instagram post that's a square. So it brings you to this screen. And if you have any questions or I'm going too fast, just make a comment or something, because I do want people to get this. So this is the design portion. And you'll see they give you a bunch of pre-done templates, right? That you can use and then modify yourself. I'll just go through this a little bit. Then there's elements, which are little pictures and things that you can put on here that are, you can search for something and put it on. And I'll go through how to do that later. Text, that's pretty self-explanatory, although there are like really cool text things that you can put on here that have their own thing. Brand is your brand color. So you can see we've been doing a lot with Gearhart Law. So we have the Gearhart Law brand colors in here. Uploads are things that you upload. And I am going to talk about these two things later, but these were generated in Canva using their AI function. Draw, I never use draw because I do not have a steady hand. Projects, if you're working on something and you want to pull in something from a project you did before, you can go here and pull another project in, and we can talk about that. Now, apps. This is where you can do a lot of different things with Canva. All these apps are connected to Canva, so you can use them in Canva, but they're kind of separate. And the one that I use is the Magic Media, which I'll show you later. But you can see they have AI power. They have a ton of them. And I've looked at a few of these, but I haven't really used them all because you have to sign up for them each individually since they're not there. And then photos are just the photos. You have audio, you can add video, but I don't want to get too complicated. So I'm probably not going to go into adding audio tonight. Background is a big one because you can change the background on anything, and I'll be showing you that. And then bulk create, I did that for some YouTube shorts I was doing. And then Magic Media, that's the AI function. So let's get started. Let's go back to design. And I had typed in earlier podcast because I figure most people want to do a podcast cover, right? And let's see, we could do podcast cover. And one came up that I really liked. We'll see if it comes up again. But you can see you get all these different ones. Oh, this was the one that I liked. Where did it go? So I was going to work with this one because I did promised to show everybody in my last LinkedIn post how you get your picture in here like this, right? So in this, I'll just show you this. This is a picture of a person, but if you delete that picture of a person, there's this frame here. This is called a frame. And frames you get from Elements. So you can add a frame here. So maybe I don't like that frame. I want to have a different frame. I can put this one in instead. I can resize it. And then maybe I want to put a picture of somebody in here. So I would go to my uploads. I mean, I don't know if you can use the pictures of these people. I never do because I never feel comfortable using somebody else's picture. And Richard, my husband, is going to talk about copyright in a little bit. But in the uploads, oh, I have this nice picture of Richard. So I'm going to make that a little smaller and drag it over here, and voila. Now, I do have to say, whatever the background is for this is what the background is going to be in here. So you can't change the background. You can do a lot of editing photos in here, but once you have it in here, you really can't edit it a lot. So let's say, okay, let's say I want to put myself in this one. So I'll just bring myself over, but I want to be facing Richard. So I'm going to go up here. So you see there's a whole bunch of commands up here. We'll talk about them as well. And I'm going to flip the picture and then I'm going to put it in there. So now I'm in a round one. He's in that one. Maybe I want a different shape. So I'm going to go to Elements. And I'm going to look at these frames. These are recently used ones. But if I type up here, frame, that, and I do see all, that gives me like just a ton of frames to play with. So if I had 3 people I wanted to stack, I might use that one. Maybe I want to be in this. So I'll do that. And then I'll go back to my uploads. Oops, where am I? Brand. Sorry, I picked a crummy pair of glasses. And I'll just put myself in there. So you can play around with those. That's kind of fun, I think. So that's how people are getting like these fancy things like this. And then, okay, so I am not sure that I really like this color. So what I would do here is I would change my background. And there's a lot you can do with backgrounds over here. And I don't know how many people are used to playing with different using color in different things. I know a lot of programs use it, but let's say I want my background to be red. Then I could just click red here and my background becomes, I don't really like that though. So maybe I don't see a color I like. So I can go here. So this might be familiar to some of you if you've worked with colors before. And I can, maybe I want something that's kind of green. Then, and maybe I want to change it here. Maybe I like that. Then I can do that. And here, I don't know how many of you have looked at this kind of thing, but this is the number that goes with this color. So if I love this color and I want to use this color again, then I'm going to write down that number. And then I can put that in anytime I'm in that screen with this. And I can type it in here and I'll get that color back. But I'm not sure I like that. The other thing I can do with backgrounds, which can be kind of fun depending on what you're doing, is I could use a pre-made background. So I could put the ocean back here. I could put, I kind of like the high-tech ones. I could put that here. You can see that some of the words disappear though. So then what happens? So then you highlight them and, okay, I wish it's notification. And you go here. That's the text color. So all these colors for text. And again, you have this thing. Anytime you see this thing, it brings up that range of colors. You can use any color you want. So make it white. Maybe white isn't right. Maybe yellow looks better. Maybe, since it's not standing out, I want to do an effect. So as I said, you have all these down here, but you also have all this up here. So you can change the font here. There's all sorts of different fonts. You can change the size here, or you can change the size just by doing that. You can change the color as we did. You can make it bold. You can make it italic. You can underline it, do strike throughs, pretty much like a lot of the stuff that you see in Word. You can center it in the box, which it is. Here you can do a list if you, but you want to do that first. So here's spacing. This is one thing I do like to use. For some of the fonts, the letters are really close together, so you can put them apart. And if you have lines, you can change the line spacing here. But the one I love is effects. So we can't really see this, right? But what if, well, there's a few different effects we could use. We could do an outline. And right now it's being outlined in this color. We can change this color to white. And then it shows up. Or one I like to use is background. We can give it a background. And the background color can be anything you want it to be. So we could do that. I don't really like those colors together, but for now, whatever. So we have changed, these are elements that you can put in or take out. You could change, you can't change the color on that. Okay. And this is, you can take this out or you can change it. And then there's another one down here that you can't see because it's not white. For now, I think I'm going to change the background so we can see what we're doing better. Where's my background on here? It's way down here. Sorry, I have crummy glasses on tonight. There, so that makes it a lot better. So what if I wanted to put, well, I can put my name here. I could put, and put Richard here. And I could put, instead of weekly podcast, maybe I want to put Passage to Profit, since that's the name of our radio show. I can stretch these out. If they won't stretch out enough, I can make it smaller. And then I can move this down. And instead of saying talk about personality, maybe I want to say talk about entrepreneurship. And then that kind of looks kind of not good to me. I could make our pictures bigger. If I wanted to make it better, I could put some elements in here. Like this is about podcasting, right? So maybe I go to the elements screen. And instead of searching for a frame, I search for a microphone. And you can see there are graphics here of the microphones. There are also photos. There's also little videos you could put in here that have microphones in them. And if you do see all, then let's say I pick this one. Then there's magic recommendations. So there's a whole bunch more done by this artist. And they're not all necessarily microphones, but they're done by the same creator. So let's say I give myself this pink and yellow one. And I'm going to flip it and stick it over here. Can make it smaller. I could put it on top. Let's say that I wanted to put the microphone kind of behind me. I didn't want it on top of me. Then I could double click here, or put both fingers down and click on my Mac. And I can go to layer. So I can send this microphone backwards, and now you can see it's behind me. So when you have pictures, it puts the latest one on top, but you can move them around and you can send them back. Let's say that I kind of like some things in here, but I really don't like most of this. So I can go here. See it shows down here. And I can duplicate this page. And then I don't like this microphone. I don't want the live stream now because we're not live streaming. This I want to be bigger, obviously. And then maybe I want to put some other pictures in here. Or maybe I think I really want to change my frame. So if I go to elements and I go to the frames, take that out of there. I kind of like this one for myself. Then I can go back to uploads, get my picture, flip myself, and stick me in there. And I kind of like that, but I probably wouldn't use this. A few things that people say quite often, and if you look at these different covers, you can see it for yourself. You don't want to put too much on a podcast cover. You want people to know what it's about. And most people do put their picture on there, and that really does make it yours. But if you put too much on there, it's just too busy and people just look away. They just give up. So if we were going to go back to these designs and go back to podcast cover, so I like that one. I like that one. There were some I saw earlier that were really busy. And let's say I hate this and I'm not even going to work with it. I could use this one instead. But let's say I want to bring in some elements here, and I had mentioned that before, of something I did before. Then I can go to my projects. And let's say I really like this one. Let's see this one. Then I could add that. Then I can just add that in here. And then what I can do with that, let's say this was an AI generated image. And one caution about these AI, which I'll show you how to do later. One caution about these is if you do generate this one, I have found I cannot regenerate them. So you need to save them in Canva or somewhere. So I can copy this from here and I can go back here. And maybe I want to put it in here. I mean, that looks stupid. I would never do that probably, but it's just to show you how easily you can go back and forth between the two. And then if you want, I can show you. So this was one that add as a new page that I did for my LinkedIn post. And I took one that was really kind of cool. I put in the word power and made it into a podcast cover like this. But let's say for this really crummy cover that we did, that we want to use this for YouTube. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I should have. Oh, I didn't show you editing pictures. Let me show you that really quick. If I go to uploads and I take a picture of Kenya, this picture of Kenya, and I don't want this background in here, then I can go to edit image up here and I can do background remover and it will remove the background. And now if I put a frame on here, now see, she's behind because I put it most recently. So if I do layer again, bring to front, and I put her in here, then she doesn't have any background. So she just gets the whole green of the thing. So you can do one thing that I do is I will take screenshots of people and I use Command-Shift-4 on my Mac laptop. I think there's a print. I know on my HP, there's a print screen option. I take screenshots of people and I put them on the colored background that I want them on. And then I take a screenshot of that and I use that to put into these circles. But let's say that we didn't want to have to do that. We could use a circle like this. And now that's kind of stuck together. So I don't think we're going to do that, but we can go back to uploads and we can get Kenya and we can put her in here. And you can see she has the white background that she had in the picture there. But at least now she's got this circle around her. And then for this circle, if we wanted to, we could change the colors of the circle. So maybe we want a green circle. So we could change. So she's got pink here and pink here. So we could take this pink and make it lime green. Could take this pink and we could make it yellow, or we could make it bright pink again, or brown, or whatever. So you have a lot of flexibility here. Then the other thing I wanted to show you, so I think you kind of have an idea of what you can do to make a really powerful one of these. I do want to go back and show you some really cool designs. So the podcast ones are all pretty much just podcast ones, but you can change them any way you want, as I showed you. And you can put a person in there and take out. So if we do this, we can take her out. Should be able to take her out. Yeah, we can take her out, and you could put yourself in there. And you could change this. Maybe you want to be, you know, talkative Tim or something. I don't know. And you could change all the colors and everything and just make it into something for you. But let's say that I wanted a picture in here. So then that I couldn't find anywhere else. So then I might use Magic Media. This is like a chat GPT thing that does images. I got to tell you, it's not great, but sometimes it works pretty well. It's just, I don't know how many people here have used chat GPT. You know, you have to be really specific with it and really tell it what you want. So you can get, so I want to get graphics, and I want to get 2 people talking into microphones and laughing, and we'll see what happens. It takes it a little bit to think about it. So these aren't actually too bad. So like I might take one of these, I don't know, maybe this one, and just click on it, and it puts it in there. Oh, sorry, did the wrong thing. Sometimes it like puts it as the whole background of the picture. Oh, it's doing that again.
Yeah, it's really a frame. So I think that's why it's doing that.
It shouldn't though. I mean, I've been able to do it with, oh, in here. Maybe if I bring it, you know what I'll do? I'll bring it over here. No, I've been able to do it and have, yeah, there we go. So maybe what I need to do to get it into that other one is copy and paste. But anyway, so this, let me see if I can paste it into that other one. There we go. Yeah, it does. Oh, you're right, Mark. It's treating it like a frame. Doesn't like that.
Yeah.
So this is AI generated. If I told it the same thing again, it will give me different pictures. So that's why if you really like this one, you should save it somewhere. Let's see what it comes up with this time. Well, you get the idea. This takes a while. So let's go back to this one. Okay, this is not. Let's go back to, I'm going to show you. If you want to get back to your designs, you can go home here. And then you can get back to all your designs and you can work with them again. So I'm going to take, let's take this design. And I did this as a YouTube thumbnail. So I posted this on LinkedIn today. But let's say I want to use this as something else. Then what's really cool, I think this is one of the best things about Canva. I think there's other programs that do this too, but I love this. I can resize this. So there's all sorts of different things. So I want to resize it into an Instagram post. So I'll copy it and resize it so I still have the YouTube video. Now, when I do this, oh, that didn't turn out too bad. sometimes there's like a lot of dead space. I think they've improved this. That's the other thing about Canva. I have never seen a software like this that they keep adding stuff and improving constantly. So now if you wanted to use this for cover for your podcast or your general podcast channel art, it's in the right format for that. And I do want to, since I do a lot of screenshots, I'll take a screenshot, I'll put it in my Canva artwork. I do want to invite my husband, Richard, to talk a little bit about the copyright implications of that. Are you there, Rich?
I'm here.
Okay. So what can happen if you steal somebody's image?
Well, first of all, I just want to say I felt like I was watching a YouTube tutorial on Canva. So,
Thank you.
yeah, it was really cool. So a copyright is an area of law that I guess really does pertain a lot to content creators. I think the main thing that you need to know is that you shouldn't borrow somebody else's material. So lots of times we'll get contacted by potential clients who receive cease and desist letters from copyright trolls that use bots to scan the internet. And they look for copies of pictures that are in their database. And then when they find one and they match it up, they send a cease and desist letter to the offender. And they usually make some obnoxious claims about wanting some sort of compensation. Usually they start at about $20,000. And so sometimes those claims can be deferred, but sometimes the violator ends up having to pay something. And we have clients that have, because they've misused copyrighted material, have had to pay fines of $2,000 or $3,000 or $5,000. So it's serious business. If you are using a copyrighted photo, somebody else's work, without their permission, without their express written permission, then you take a risk that you're going to end up getting caught and fined. We had this situation with a local library. I always thought it was kind of ironic, but the librarians had put together a website, and on some of the back pages, they had borrowed photos from another website. The trolling company found the photos, and they sent them a cease and desist letter demanding $5,000 from these nice librarians. And we were able to negotiate a better deal. I think they ended up paying about $500, but they still had to pay, right? And it was a very stressful situation for them. So just keep in mind that if you borrow copyrighted material, you're taking a risk. And so that would be my main message on copyright today. So
Thank you. I wanted to show one last thing with this photo. If I edit the image here, oh, I see a raised hand. Let me show this and then I'll answer your question just real quick. If there's all these effects for photos, I like the filters. So this is what the image looked like when I started with it. But what I did was I went down here to the filters, and there's these really wild, what happened? Oh, there's these really wild ones down here that give you they're the color pop that give you this kind of stuff. And it really, I know you've probably seen this other places on the internet. So the filters can do all sorts of different things with your photo. So that was it. So I'm going to look at the raised hand. I can't see. Mark, can you tell me who is raising their hand and we can call them?
This person goes by the initial T, as in Tom. T, do you have a question? Maybe it was an accident.
Okay.
Yes, no,
Oh, wait,
I was just I was just texting you.
Oh, okay.
Message.
No problem.
Okay. I don't want to take off other people's time. So
Go for it. What's your question?
My question was going back to copywriting, copyright images. What if we took images from like what's already out there for free, like I think it's called Splash. or Unsplash, something like that. They have like bunch of images that they say that you could use for free. Could that be used for free on your blogs as well, or like on your podcast?
I mean,
banner?
I'm not the lawyer in the house, and I could tell you, I mean, if they say it's free, I would certainly read some of the fine print to make sure that what they're offering is free. But if in fact they do have free content for you to use, then by all means, go for it. Yeah. And yeah, I see somebody just suggested Pixabay. That's a good one for sure. And Canva stuff, as far as I know, that they claim that it is free use. I think there is some question about that, but I can just my own personal experience. I usually use their stuff in my designs. I don't use it solely. Like, for example, if there was a picture of a happy family, I'm not just taking that picture and publishing it all over the internet. I'm working it into the rest of the design that I'm using to promote my podcast.
I see. So like you just wouldn't just take random photos, you're saying you'll make sure it's completely free before using it.
Yeah.
Or just to be on the most safest side would be to just use your own image.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, use your own image and or make sure you get written permission from the person that you're wanting to use it. Even if you give attribution, that's not enough. So there are people like Gary Vaynerchuk, for example. You say, well, if you give attribution, that's enough. And really, giving somebody credit doesn't absolve you from copyright infringement if they don't want you to use the photo. So you really got to be careful with that. And, you know, you have to assess the risk. But the fact is that just using a photo on a website can result in a lot of, or on a thumbnail can result in a lot of financial pain. And it's just not worth it. I do think that for most uses, the Canva platform does give a license to people to use their photographs, but I'm not sure that they extend that to all uses, right? So if you kind of go outside the thumbnail or just using it for general graphics or YouTube, if you were to do something, you know, like use it in a movie or something like that, you may not have rights to do that. But for the typical Canva uses, you'll be fine. You don't have to worry.
And Mark,
But I didn't know it.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Go ahead with your question. Then Mark had another comment about Canva we were discussing before we started.
What if you took an original image because you couldn't take one of yours that related to, for instance, like that topic that you're talking about or whatever? And what if you switched it up in Canva, like you added, you know, some other graphics or, you know, wordings and make the original picture kind of different from the original picture? Would that be still like stealing, or what is your input on that?
You mean like OpenAI does?
Something like that.
Yeah. So it depends on, you can have a derivative work, okay, that you can have your own copyright in. It depends on the amount of change that you make to the photograph. So, and whether it's transformative or not. So whether whether you've transformed the work. So again, in copyright, there's no hard and fast rules about what's transformative or what's not. So when you do that, you take a risk. You take less of a risk than if you just use the exact same photograph. But unless you transform it a lot, then you're taking at least some risk. So yeah, if you take a photograph of a lake and then you put people in front of the lake, then you're probably on shaky ground there. So if you are going to do that, change it a lot. So.
Yeah, and if you can fill out the comments, we asked for comments, we sent out a survey. If you'd like to hear more about intellectual property and podcasting, let us know in the survey. Richard's happy to help out.
And
okay, thank you.
You can get the QR code from my screen right now. My profile picture is that QR code to fill in and share your feedback on today's event.
Okay, thank you so much.
So now I
Okay.
think it's time for Stacy. I've been looking forward to this, Stacy. I really don't know a lot about FlowSend. I know a little bit about Opus Pro, which is similar, but I really want to hear what you have to say.
Wonderful. You have to allow me to share screen. It says
Oh,
disabled, please.
well, I'm sorry, you have to do it without sharing your screen.
Okay. Yeah, well, you have to just visualize. I'm not that good. By the way, if anybody can't access the QR code with their phone and they need the link, do let us know.
It's in the chat as well.
Good. Okay. And again, we really appreciate your feedback on this survey, because then we can continue to make this valuable to you as we do this each month. Okay. So before I get started, what I'm going to talk about is a product called FlowSend. Now, I've been testing out a lot of different programs because I need to save time, just like all of you, in being able to do, after I do a podcast, I want to create the title. I want to create show notes. I want to create YouTube descriptions, hashtags, blog articles, newsletters, etc. So this saves time, what I'm going to show you. Now, I like it better than ChatGPT. I've been testing actually a lot of different programs, but I'm going to highlight some of the things I like about this program. And there is a special offer at the end that the owner did give me to share with you. So let me share my screen. Can you see?
Yes.
FlowSend. Excellent. Okay. So, and I cannot see the chat, so please feel free to chime in for my voice. What you see here is there's a lot of different use cases. So for my show, for example, I have my Doing CX Right podcast, which if I switch screens, can you see my Apple? Do you see that when I switch off FlowSend?
Yep.
Okay, good. So this is Apple Podcast, Spotify, etc. So there's these show notes and descriptions, just to give you a sense of what I'm talking about, the title of the episode. So we're gonna, I'm gonna be spending time as an example in this one, but going back to the platform. So I have my show. I also can put in where I'm a guest of a podcast. And so I can get different things as being the guest versus the host for different content purposes, which I'll explain. Courses, I have courses, I have webinars, I do keynote speaking. So there's a lot of different things, and even unstructured data where ideas where I'll speak, and then I'm able to do stuff with my own content. So let's go into a real use case, which is going to be Disney. Okay, so I just interviewed, he's an executive, worked 20 years at Disney World, and he was on my show all talking about what Disney does. They are very known for customer service and experiences. So I uploaded my episode. It can be audio or video. It took probably, I don't know, I could run downstairs, get a glass of water, and come back up. It was so fast. So I got the transcript, which is what you see here. Okay, it's all very quickly. And what I do love is that everybody spells my name wrong, even the AI. It spells it S-T-A-C-E-Y. I'm just Y. So very easy that I said find S-T-A-C-E-Y, and it replaced. Now let's just show you, for example, that Stacy, let's find Stacy, and let's replace it for the way that everybody does give me, which I don't like, and replace all. So now Stacy is the wrong way, which is how the AI originally did it. So let's put it back to how I really prefer, at least how my mother gave it to me. Stacy, replace all. Okay, so it's very easy to, it's very intuitive. This is very easy to understand. There are other platforms. They're less intuitive. They're a lot busier. So I'm giving up some preference to this one. Okay, so now the fun. Okay. I have my show I recorded. First thing I want to do is I want titles. What am I going to call this show? So it takes my transcript and it gives me all these different titles. And again, I find when I put my transcript into ChatGPT or other platforms, I find this is giving me a better output. Now, let's say, and if anybody's speaking, please put yourself on mute for now. So let's say I really like Mastering the Magic, Disney's Secrets to Customer Loyalty. So I can tell it to please give me more options like Title 1. Send. It's generating. And it does give you prompts, but I put my own. So now it gave me some additional ones. So I can pick and I can keep chatting until I find the one that I like. Okay. Now we have a lot to go through, so I'm going to close this one for the moment, but I can keep chatting until I find, write it with emojis, give me a longer, like all different things I can ask it to do with my titles. My episode description. So as I mentioned, this is the description of, it's very short. Actually, I went a little over here, so cut that off. So basically it gives me what would go here that goes into Spotify and Apple and all these other places. And so that's what this is. And if I don't like it, I can give it, more rewrite in first person. That's often a good one. If you do a group or multiple people on your show, I can give it all these different things, and then very fast, it will give me a better, join me as I welcomed, right? It did exactly that. So that's another use case, episode description. You can't launch a podcast without it. Now I'm going to get to YouTube in a moment. So if you have that question, hold it. Timestamps. That's really, really important, especially on YouTube and even my blog that I put this on. And it helps people figure out, narrow down. I've tested this in many different platforms. I think this does a very good job in giving the exact time frame. So there's many that do well. And again, you could put your whole transcript in ChatGPT, but it's a lot of extra work. And I think this does a great job in just what are the bottom lines, because there's other AIs that give me 4 minutes and 35 seconds. Like, I don't need all that detail. I just want the bottom line. And that's what my visitor, my show guest wants. Okay. But again, I can ask it, I haven't done this, but let's see what happens in real time. Make my show notes more detailed. Let's see what happens. So it's thinking. And it did. Voila. All right. So it's your friend, right? You talk to it like a kindergartner. All right. Now, there's a lot more here. Let me just get to some of the important ones. Keywords. So we know Google loves keywords. So it's really important that it really does a great job in giving you your SEO keywords. I sprinkle this into my website, my blog articles, everything I put online. YouTube especially. That way you are getting the advantage of the Google spiders. And if you don't know what that is, that's another day. And put that in your request in the survey. We can go over that. Newsletter. I mean, any of you do newsletters? This is such an easy shortcut of the episode highlights, what you'll learn, where to connect with us. Very, very easy. And
hey, Stacy.
Yeah.
You know, if you're cool with it, I'd love for you to share a little bit why the newsletter is so valuable. Because we have a ton of people in here that are just getting started with podcasting. And I feel like in my experience working with podcasters, an email newsletter is one of the last things they're thinking about, yet it could be a very valuable piece. So I thought if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit.
Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can't see everybody while I'm sharing my screen. So appreciate you chiming in.
Sure.
So newsletter, gosh, marketing. Marketing is, you could have a store, but if nobody knows you exist, nobody's going to come through the door. So think of this in that same way. If they don't know that you have a podcast, no one's going to listen. So marketing, one of your channels, we know about social media. Marketing is also your newsletter. Your newsletter, I don't care if you have 5 people that follow you and subscribe or thousands. Those are people saying, I'm engaged. I like what you say. I want to hear from you. They're your most captive audience and they want to hear from you. So treat them like gold. And therefore, a newsletter to the people that literally opted in and said, I want to hear from you. You're able then to give them your podcast cliff notes and guide them. And so it's important to start the practice of emailing the people that signed up for your form. And if you don't, through your form, and if you don't have a newsletter form, put it either in your website, if you have one. If you don't, there's other tools that you can use, and we can make that a whole nother PodXperience about how you can create it very easily just to start and filter the relationship management with your followers. Okay. And again, if you really want to know more about newsletters and email marketing as a marketing channel, make sure that you put that in the survey of what you want to learn. Marketing has a lot of arms and legs to it, but this is also a great way to do your content very easily. And it could just be a starting point. You don't have to copy word for word. In fact, I don't encourage you to do that. Put your personality into these tools for sure. It'll give you also social media. So for those of you who struggle with what to put on Twitter, Threads, X, whatever you want to call it, Threads and Instagram and everything, it gives you that. And also, something that's kind of cool is if you have a guest, you can give them words when you tell them, hey, good news, your episode is live. You can give them this information that they can use to promote their own show that they were on. So it gives you some nice custom guest things that you can share, so that's really my secret sauce, by the way. Because my show is mostly interviewed based, okay? It has the people that are on my show, I get them to share my show. So not only do I have, right, my own 25,000 followers on LinkedIn and communities, my guests have a lot of followers. So by giving them some ideas of what to say, you get that benefit. That's free advertising for you. Again, strategy, another detailed day. YouTube. And I know I'm going fast. So again, please put your notes in the chat and our survey on what you want us to dive deeper into. YouTube is really important. There's short descriptions and detailed. So this also gives you some great copy of important points and what you mentioned. So you absolutely, again, would use the chat prompts for what you want to elaborate on. This is just using some best practices, but it gets you going and it gives you some good hashtags. It gives you the call to actions and links. It's a good structure. And then again, you can chat with this like a kindergartner and it will give you very quickly a response. And so you can play with these different buttons and then you copy the content and you paste it where you want it to go. Okay. Okay, so what I want to also give you one more thing here is blog. So I like a specific format for my blog. What I do is I take let me just show you a really, really quick example so you could do this too. So my podcasts, right? I have different people on my show. So what I'll do is, let's just pick, for example, this guy. So this is a guy I interviewed from Zappos. So what I did was I put my podcast on the page. I also put my YouTube on the page, okay? But the article or the blog, I like to put 2 questions. I write what it's about. I put the timestamps. And then this was sponsored. So I put the sponsor here and then about my guest. So going back to the tool, here's 2 questions. Then I go into some takeaways, some strategies, final thoughts. Now I've started tweaking this bit more, but I made this a custom prompt. And you can do that by actually telling, whoops, I'm going too fast. You can create your own prompts for your own needs. These come with your own standard, but you can also create your own, as I have done. So here's my custom output. I said, this is my website blog. I said, use my transcript and create a blog article using the structure and format in my example. And I put in my example. And as you see, this topics discussed, and it gives me some of those final points, and then etc. So that's where you see this is a custom output. I asked it for, I saved it, and now it generates for me and I can interact with it. And that's where you see that I have on my own page in here. Okay. Now, one more thing, and then I want to allow Q&A and give you, share with you an offer that's for this community. We talked about Canva before, and I just want to share something that's really cool that piggybacks on what Elizabeth was talking about. So clips and quotes. This gives you the timestamp of some pretty cool quotes. So we talked about, for example, non-negotiables. World-class organizations have non-negotiables when it comes to customer experience. So I could technically do a couple things with this. I can put a quote and put it in Canva and use that in social media. There's a lot of tools, and Mark's going to go into one of them, that you can create video shortcuts, and you could tell it. Sometimes AI doesn't pick the short form. It gives you a lot of different versions, but sometimes it doesn't give you the best ones. So you can actually just scan through this and say, oh, I like that. Let me go to this timestamp and actually create a short reel story from it. Okay, so just wanted to show you another way that you can use this for Canva and for creating those shorts and reels. All right, so before I pause, there's so much to share in here, but let me do this. I'm going to get to some Q&A with you if anybody has, but also I want to make sure that you have here. So this is a QR code. If you can't see it, please let me know. This is a QR code. So basically, if you want to try it out and do all the things, and I'm happy to share with you details on how I use this for myself, and there's so much more I didn't get to show you. This is the website, and because of this community, you can have a discount. Any friend of mine is a friend of FlowSend. So use this to help you get a discount. And I promise you, it is so dummy proof. Not that you're a dummy, I am. So I can do it. And then obviously 50% off for a year, which this is not advertised anywhere. He gave this to us for a very short term. So please take a picture of this. So this is the QR code. This is the website, and I'm happy to address some questions.
Does anyone have any questions for Stacy?
Did I overwhelm you? All right.
Well, it's also FlowSend happens to be very straightforward and easy to follow along. It's really just generating all these different assets for you based off of solely off of your transcript of your podcast. So yeah, and it's really clicks of buttons. It's like, okay, I want my show notes written, click, boom, you got it. So yeah, I can see why there maybe aren't a ton of questions. And we have a lot of new podcasters too. So
Well, I'm looking at this.
I have a question actually.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, hi. Good afternoon. So
Hello.
this is great. Thank you so much for putting this on. So Stacy, I just wanted to ask overall, and you've done a pretty good presentation of FlowSend. I had never heard of it before. What was it can do a lot, I can see, but what was like the primary thing that made you want to use FlowSend in general? Like what was the primary problem or thing? What's the thing that you think FlowSend does like super, super well that one should focus on,
Yes, great question. Number one, time. I am bleeding for time. So even with ChatGPT, what I found originally was I was going to, after my recording, I was then going to get the transcript. Then I was putting it into ChatGPT. Then I was going into ChatGPT and giving it all these prompts and like a conversation. So this saves me time because it's all in one place. And I can also upload my show into from a YouTube. So let's say I was going to upload a recording, I can import from YouTube here. It's so easy. Or I can just upload the file from my Google Drive or from wherever. So time is one reason. Two, being in the customer experience field, which is also user experience, I need easy. I don't have time to go figure it out. So I found that this has been very good. There are more features that are needed, right? But
Stacey,
it is.
Can I interrupt you for just a sec? Can you please put up the QR code again and the code so people can get this for the discount? Thank you.
Yeah.
That. Thank you.
Thank you. So one is time, two is usability. I don't want to have to email or ask for help. But let me tell you, I test that. I test how long does it take to get help when I need it? How fast is responsiveness? And I was impressed multiple times. So that's another thing that is part of my criteria of when I use any platform. What's the customer service? I also find that I struggle with, when I use ChatGPT, Claude, all these different ones I test, it doesn't sound like me. And I don't like that. So I'm impressed with how this has been the closest to my tone of voice, which it must be learning from the transcript. Yeah. Again, does it do everything? No, but I've seen the roadmap and I like where it's going. And so at minimum, for what it has today, it's speeding up my workflow. And if for anybody listening who hasn't started a podcast and they're afraid because they're afraid of all the different components, what do I need? I don't even know what I don't know, right? This makes it easy for you. So at bare minimum, if one person leaves today starting a podcast because all they now have to get is a title, a description, put it on YouTube. That's it.
Yeah. I just want to say, somebody said in the chat they're driving. So we're going to send out a newsletter. And now I have not put this through Cast Magic because I have a Cast Magic account I share and it's for a different podcast. But I think we should put this YouTube that we're recording of this meeting through FlowSend and see what we get out for a newsletter at the end. But we
Yeah.
will definitely put these codes in our newsletter and email it to you within the next couple of weeks. So look for an email from us and we'll have all the codes in there. We also have one for what is it? Podcast Movement that's happening in DC next month. So we have a discount code for that too. Thanks to Stacy, Wonder Woman.
By the way, I don't know when our newsletter will go out, so it is important, particularly for the 50% off for the year, because he's only giving that to us till July 26th, because that's a
Oh
big,
my.
that's a big discount, but half off for the year. So anybody, just make sure that if you go to flowsend.ai, just write down Stacy Friends Yearly 50. Just write that
Yep.
down.
And that's in the chat too.
Okay, yeah, and no E and Stacy.
That's all right.
And you can also find our email addresses in the Eventbrite invitation, but I don't know if that'll still be up after this. I can put our email addresses in the meetup site too.
Yeah.
So you can email, I'm Elizabeth@gearhartlaw.com and Stacy is Stacy@doingcxright.com, right?
Yeah. All
And
right.
Mark,
Well,
what's your email, Mark?
I put it in the chat. It's Mark, MARC @ironicmedia.com. It's in the chat.
So yeah, feel free to email any of us anytime.
all right, everyone. So I'll pause and hand it over to Mark, and then we'll do some closing remarks at the end.
Sounds good. Okay, so since on the topic of AI, I'm going to share a tool with you called Minvo, MNVO. I'll have a link for you as well. And again, addressing the desire for time as a podcaster, that is what this tool is doing. And to further on that question that was asked, I think that's ultimately one of the biggest things that podcasters are looking for, is to find ways to save time, because just looking at FlowSend alone, especially for you new podcasters, there are a lot of pieces to a podcast, and having it all in one place like FlowSend really just makes our lives a lot easier. And especially when I know there are so many podcasters out there that aren't doing this full time. They have their full-time jobs that this podcast is being used as a complement, right? So to have to then invest so much more time into that it gets a little frustrating sometimes for a lot of podcasters. So that's why Minvo is a big one for me. Minvo allows you to take your podcast video and upload it to their system, and I'll show you this here. One of the most attractive parts of it is it will pull clips for you. So what do I mean? Let me pull this up here and I'll show you. All right, well, it's not FlowSend. Here we go. So Minvo, yeah, so one of the things it will do is auto clip the best moments from your podcast. So what the AI is doing is it's taking the video, it's creating a transcript. By the way, it'll do transcripts for you solely if you just wanted a transcript, but it'll take that transcript and it actually goes through it and finds the most memorable moments, potentially the most shareable content that you have. Now, much to everything we've said so far here with AI is not perfect. You can't, generally speaking, just let it spit something out and walk away, because it's not really in your voice. It might have some mistakes. You do have to check it to make sure that it's what you're putting out there is a good representation of you and your podcast. So I'll share how that is addressed within Minvo as well. Another thing it will do is it automatically adjusts the framing for you. So, when you upload it, if it's two people, it finds those two people's faces and it does a really nice job of centering it for you so that you don't have to know how to do all the technical stuff in order to make that happen. And then really that third thing is what I've been somewhat teasing here is, what do you do if you have a clip that's almost perfect, but not quite where you want it to be? So I'm going to show you exactly how that works. So first, what I'm going to do is I recorded a video or an interview today. I did it live. I recorded it, and then I dropped it into Minvo to show you how it works. So basically what happens, let me make sure I'm showing you in the right tab here. Let me go back to my, so what you get this dashboard, okay? And there's all sorts of videos in here that we have. You can actually, if you have more than one podcast, for example, you can separate these by, you can create multiple channels, if you will, or multiple accounts, if you will. I have to close my Zoom, it's in the way. So if you look here at the top right where it says Minvo, you can actually what's called add a brand. So if you had podcast A, that would be here where it says Minvo. If you have podcast B, you could add that simply by clicking add brand, and then it asks you some questions. You can upload your logo, you can give it your brand name, and do several other things as far as like your color scheme, etc., to stay on brand. All right, now let me get back to my screen. Okay, so this is the interview right here. So you upload it, it takes 5 to 7 minutes for it to really go through the upload, pull that transcript, find those moments. And then this was based off of about a 45-minute interview. And give me 1 second, it will pull these up. It's already got these, so this could be my internet connection, not Minvo. Okay, and so now what it has here is, okay, so this is the number one. I do believe it tries to pull the content in order of potential as far as views and clicks and shares and all that. So it's looking at this one as probably one of our best moments. So, but I'll show you here, it's pulled multiple clips, and I'm going fast, so I'm not giving it a chance to upload here, show those little thumbnails. But you can see this one alone, I think, had over 20 for sure. Yeah, like 22 different clips just from a 45-minute interview. So again, if you're not very experienced with editing, if you're not very experienced or don't feel confident in, is this the right clip? Is that the right clip? This is pulling it for you and saving you some of that time and sometimes aggravation. So why don't we just go dig into this? I want to make sure I shared the sound, because otherwise this will be a hard, yeah, I don't think I did. Okay, here we go. Okay, so let's go into this and take a look at what it did. Now, this was an interview with a friend of mine, a colleague, Dominic Lawson. Dominic is a 23-time podcast award winner. He is an amazing storyteller. His podcast, he actually does interview people just like a lot of us do or plan to do with our podcast, but Dominic does it in a storytelling way. So he's not just playing the interview from start to finish. He's actually narrating the stories, and he's weaving in clips from those interviews in between. So I wanted to dig in with him and have him share some of his reasons behind that, his techniques, and how he tells his stories. He uses a lot of sound design, etc. So you're going to notice a few things here on this editor. And it may look, if you haven't done this before, it may look intimidating just at first glance. And I promise you, it's actually pretty easy. If you don't know how to do, say, the traditional type of editing, which is this little timeline here at the bottom, where you have these little waveforms, that's in blue here, and you can see the little thumbnail images of the video. And you may also notice that there are these words up here. Okay, so you can edit based on the transcript. You can do it, and I'll show you all of this. You can do it down here, or you can see here on our left, this has the full transcript of just the clip. Okay, so I could, if I wanted to, for example, if I don't want this, in here, you can highlight it and hit cut. And now you can see here, at the bottom here of the timeline, you can see it's all kind of grayed out. You can see it's crossed out here. It will no longer play that. And if I hit play on here.
It's interesting, you know, like, and honestly, I'm glad you asked this question now.
So let me tell you two things. One is you can do it manually. I call those filler words that you know. But Minvo does have a feature when you initially upload it to tell it, get rid of filler words. It'll get rid of for you the you knows, the ums, etc., the likes, etc. I didn't do it for this because I wanted to show you all how this actually works manually as well. So the second thing I'll say is we have to hear the rest of the clip. I happen to know this piece of the interview. I just did it a couple hours ago. But what I don't like already is it took him 5 seconds to actually get to the meat, or maybe get to the potential hook of this clip. That hook is the first line of your video. Ideally is something that's going to be ear and eye catching, so that person who's just stumbled onto your video isn't just scrolling on to the next one. There's something about those first few words, or maybe visually, that captures the attention to keep them there. That's what a hook is. And if I were to start with this,
it's interesting, you know, like, and honestly, I'm glad you asked this question.
Right? Like, I don't know about you guys, but I probably would have scrolled on to the next one. So I would probably consider getting rid of all of that nonsense by highlighting that part of the transcript. And now you can see it's going to start at, I'm glad you asked this question. But I'll tell you from my experience of, and knowing a thing or two about hooks, I don't even think that's strong enough. Right? So I would probably take a look here at this transcript if I had more time with you, and go through it and look a little bit for what's maybe something, what's a stronger place to start, right? And for this demonstration purpose, let's just say, I'm glad you asked that question. That's going to be the hook. I assure you it's probably not the strongest hook either. Let's say I noticed, though, that, oh, you know what? Yes, this is the right clip. This is the stuff that I know people are going to be interested in, but Minvo missed the first few things that I really felt like were really important to share in this clip. But it's not here now, so what do? There's this little button over here at the top left called Extend Trim. You click that, and you can see the purple highlighted. That's the clip that we're talking about, that we've been looking at. But you can also see there's all sorts of stuff before it and after it. So you can extend that clip, or you can actually shorten it, but you can extend it either from the beginning or earlier, or you can extend it later. So I wanted to point that out because that is a common thing that Minvo and other products like it. That's a common complaint a lot of people have is, it almost got the clip right. It almost pulled all of the things I wanted to pull, but it didn't, so I don't like the software. But Minvo is one of the few that actually allows you to go in there and manipulate the clip in this kind of way. So let's go to, and I missed, so you can see I missed this word it's here. So I can just, well, one way I could also do it is go down here at the bottom of the timeline, at the bottom of the screen. I can highlight the word, and you can see some options here. I'll explain these, that these are options for the captions that go across the screen for the viewer who may have their sound off while they're watching, right? Or it could be for somebody who's hearing impaired. But in this case, I just want to cut it out. So I just go to the bottom of this drop down, click cut it's, and it's gone. So let's start it from the beginning of the clip.
I'm glad you asked this question now, Mark, because it's something I've been reflecting on probably the past month or two.
Now, did you notice this B-roll popped up? B-roll. That's where sometimes we use images, videos, GIFs to pop up on the screen to help tell the story. And it's called a pattern disrupt. What does that mean? We get, when we're watching a video, eventually we kind of get into an autopilot mode when we're watching. And that's where the distractions come in and actually become distractions. In other words, that's when that ding goes off and we're just kind of zoning watching this video. Oh, the ding went off, and then we're moving on and looking into whatever distraction, right? So the point here, hold on a second, let me just get, is that the pattern disrupt, what it's doing with this B-roll, it's causing your brain to stop and say, whoa, something else is on the screen. It's keeping your attention, it's keeping you engaged. And Minvo, when you originally upload your video, you can click a little toggle button and say add B-roll, or and just to do it in, add B-roll or add image, add video, add GIF. You can tell it ahead of time, and then every clip will have these little images. And if you don't like the placement, you can just click and drag it around. And if you don't like the fact that that I'm behind it like that, well, you can, over here to your right, you can resize it. You can do all sorts of stuff. I could say half height. I could say fit to frame. I could say, here, let me show you another way to do it. Well, or I could manually do it. I could blow this all the way up as much as I want, right? But it can automatically do it. And if I don't like it, I can always change it. So at the bottom of the screen here, you can see here this timeline, right? So I showed you earlier, we have the text at the top. We have the waveform, that's the audio. We have that video image there. And then you can see there are these other things on the timeline. This is that B-roll that we're talking about here. And you can change these, or you can add new ones using this little plus button. So if I wanted to add one, let's just go here for a second. And let's say we're going to add a GIF. I like GIFs. So the first thing, let's just say he's talking about, even though I know he's not. Well, let's say he's talking about reading a story. So now it's going through, and this is free use stuff, to go back to our conversation from earlier. But you can see, so like, okay, this is a mom reading to her child. That was something that I know Dominic talked about. I might want to use that video, or I want to, because I like GIFs, I might go and look at the GIFs and see if any of these are of interest. Now, he did mention PBS, and he did mention Sesame Street. So I can say select, and then as the video plays,
I've been going, well, first of all, like,
well, it needs a minute just to kind of load up. There it was.
Going, well, first of all, like PBS.
I have to make it bigger.
PBS as a kid was
PBS. So, okay. Let me show you now. So I mentioned earlier, okay, I know he mentions PBS, and I knew this wasn't in the right spot. So now what? I've added it. Do I have to delete it and now try to add it again in the right spot? No. So I look at the timeline. Sorry, it's really hard to do with Zoom, so please forgive me. Here's where he says PBS. For some reason, he said it twice. So I can just make sure that everything moves over accordingly, right? So you can move it over. Here we go. And then I can scroll down the timeline. Is this the good place to start? I might even bring it up a little bit, have it come a little bit later. So you can just click and drag and move things around the timeline if you don't like where their placement is.
Going, well, first of all, like PBS as a kid was.
And let me just tell you, when you see that loading GIF there, that's just for your view, your preview. It won't do that when you output your end result. Sometimes it will do that because of your internet connection. Sometimes maybe there's just something a little slow going on in the back end of Minvo. It's a lot of data. It's a lot of video. So sometimes it might just take a second to catch up. I mentioned pattern disrupts earlier. That is a key to making your videos potentially go viral. You'll probably notice in some of the videos that you see, if you're scrolling, there are other things that go on. Sometimes there are sound effects. So you could, if you wanted to, with Elmo popping up here, you could insert a sound. Since I said the word popping up and we have some pops here, I'll add a popping sound. And and there it is right here. That's the screen right underneath our video. So I can just slide it if I want to make it the timing right. And then let's try it again. Let's go back here.
All right. I've been going, well, first of all, like PBS.
I don't know if you guys heard it. It might be hard over Zoom, but
first of all, like PBS as a kid was.
So I heard it. I'm not sure if you did. And here's the beautiful thing. You can also raise the volume if you want. Right. So if I raise it, hopefully now, maybe since I've doubled the volume, you'll hear it. Let's see.
Been going, well, first of all, like PBS
there
as a kid.
So you can do all sorts of things to make these videos sing. You could remove it all if that's just not your thing. I recommend that you do. And one other thing I'll show you, since we're doing this one little area here, I'm going to go to the timeline and I'm going to put a little split in the timeline. So now you can see these two clips here. They're now two clips. They don't highlight all together. It's one. You can pick between these. So this clip here, what I'm going to do is show you exactly. Hold on one second. Let me pull this up. Let me play it through.
First of all, like PBS as a kid.
Okay, so what I could do here is with that pop, I could add an effect. So we're going to the right side of the screen again in this little area here. By the way, we haven't heard Dominic. We haven't seen Dominic, right? So that is probably because the recording software I used had Dominic on a delay. And the system, Minvo, is smart enough to notice, wait, his mouth isn't moving on pace with the words coming out of his mouth. So Minvo's actually, I think, hiding Dominic so that the video watchers aren't seeing it.
I've been going,
let's see.
Well, first of all, like PBS as a kid was.
Okay, no, okay. So that part, it wasn't off. So what I want to show you here is the effects. We go to effects to your top right. And what we can do is we can give it a little bit of a zoom in or a zoom out. But I'm going to do pop in for the zoom in. And what you'll see is now you'll see me come in, zoomed in for a moment or two. I'll show you.
PBS as a kid was a godsend.
Did you see that?
Was a godsend.
There's that little pop. And then I didn't time it right yet, and I won't do it now, but you could time that with the sound effect of a pop. And those little nuances, those are the things that keeps people's attention. So now I had to add a pop because that would have bothered me if I didn't show it.
Yeah, Mark, I read that years ago, and I think it's really true that people's minds wander and their vision wanders off, and you have to pull them back in with something. It's really smart.
Yeah, because even the most brilliant words coming out of that person's mouth, if it doesn't hook them the right way, they're going to get distracted. The watcher, they're going to get distracted and move on to something else. Yes, the content, you'll always hear me preach. Your content is most important. And we want to find strategies to keep people's attention because we're in an age where people have short attention spans.
Like PBS as a.
Yeah. So I'm rushing through because I don't want to get too deep in the weeds, and that timing wasn't perfect, but all I have to do is just slide things around accordingly and make the timing just right for me. The last thing I'll show you, because I know, and thanks for bearing with me, for some of you, I'm sure some of that was a little or a lot. And I want to show you one other thing that I really appreciate about Minvo. Minvo also allows you to do things like schedule those clips. Once you've got that clip where you want it, it's ready to go. You can actually go in through Minvo. You can link, if you look here on the left-hand side, you can link down here to all of your different social media accounts. Which really, again, when we talk about time saving and not having to bounce back and forth to all these different places, that's really helpful. You can also set goals for yourself. And that is in line with these. I'll explain. You can tell it, I want to post 3 posts a week to social media. And my goal is to get 10,000 views in a month. If you link your accounts, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, etc., it will track those views for you. In addition to a few other things, I believe it'll track. But it actually, once it's linked to those accounts, it'll keep track of all that. So now, again, no bouncing around. You don't have to go to Instagram to see how did that perform there. Oh, now I got to go to LinkedIn. How did that perform over there? It's pulling that all for you and then helping you, which I believe helps you achieve that goal. If you can get that quick bird's eye view and see how far away you are, A, it'll keep you motivated, and B, it'll just make life so much easier.
That's really true. We just got a question. Does it allow you to do call to actions?
Yes, it does. You can actually, several ways you can do it. You can add it with text. You could put text, any text you want, pop up on screen in addition to those captions. That's one way. You can also upload an additional piece of content and add it to your timeline. So if you had a call to action that, let's say you played a quick clip from your episode and then you want you, the host, to come back on screen on this short form video and say, this, check out the latest episode for more information from Dominic and how to tell your best story. Well, you can record that, upload it, and put it right into Minvo and add it to the end of that clip. So I'm not sure if that is the way in which the person asking was hoping for. I'm not sure, but I think that's what you mean by adding a call to action at the end.
Yeah, I think that answered his question. This is really powerful, especially congregating all the data like that. If anybody that does marketing, that's like gold, having that all in one place.
Absolutely. And I will say that if this felt like a lot to you, there are a ton of how-tos, very short, easy to follow how-to videos on how to do everything there. And I'm always happy to help walk anybody through it as well.
We have a question mark from Evan.
Hey, Evan.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
So quick question. So this is about the text on screen as you talk, because like having the text move as you talk. Because I've been using Adobe, and Adobe is it's basically like it can do the like the text to like the speech to text, like the basic one, but it doesn't have it where it moves along as you talk. And I was trying to figure out a good way to add that. So I was wondering, like, because I saw that was in your video, and I wanted to know, does Minvo have that, and what other options there are to have that?
Minvo does have captions, and they have a variety of options that you can also customize to your brand colors. And if you wanted to, like you said you use Adobe, if you're more comfortable editing in Adobe, great, more power to you. I get why that might be the case. People who edit like those really robust pieces of software. You can edit it all in Adobe and then upload it to Minvo and tell it all you want it to do is add captions, and it'll do it for you.
Okay, awesome.
Yep.
Does Opus do that too?
I don't know if Opus does that particular thing. No.
What does this cost, Mark?
So Minvo, let me give everybody, I know that one deal that they have right now is if you buy the year subscription, it is 70% off. I believe you can get a subscription for as low as around $20 a month. And again, even if it was say 30, which I don't think it's that high, but even if it was, if you think about spending $30 a month to get all of this editing done that you would have paid somebody hundreds and hundreds of dollars to do over the course of a month, this is a huge money saver as well. I can't recall off the top of my head the exact cost. And Evan, I have, since you asked a question, I've got a deal for you. It's going to be 10 hours a month free for you. So thanks for asking your question. If you reach out to me, I'll put it in the chat again. I'll put my email.
10 hours a month for free of Minvo. That's what I was about. 10 hours a month. Okay.
Yep.
And then Mark and Stacy as well, both of you, if people get stuck with these custom softwares, can you counsel them? Like, can you consult for them?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Anything. I mean, whether it's Minvo or anything, I mean, everybody here has 3 very qualified people that can help them in whatever stage they are in their podcast. And yes, absolutely. I'd be happy to help anybody, whether you're just starting out, whether you've been doing it a while and struggling with that growth. I'm happy to help wherever you need it.
Right. Stacy, final words?
Oh, well, first of all, thank you for staying this late with us, number one. Number two, technology can be exciting and intimidating. We really don't want you to be intimidated. We're here to help you and help each other. And again, just start small. Realize there's so many options out there and the list is growing. It's really about what feels intuitive to you. What usability seems easy to you. What's easy to me is going to be different to somebody else. You have 3 true experts here in all different realms of video and podcasting. Keep coming back because we're talking about so much. I did get a couple ideas that people messaged me. One was about blogging, a lot of questions around blogs. And also I love this one, which is some mindsets, like how do you handle trolls? How do you handle the haters? There's so much more that we're going to talk about. So please make sure again that you fill out our feedback form, because that's how we're going to be able to customize this more for you. And we are we're taking off August. We are coming back in September, and we're going to be partnering with PodFest, which is a big podcast community. I think they're in their 11th year, which they also have an event in January. But we're going to do something in the New Jersey area, but we're going to keep it hybrid so that everybody can benefit from the content. So that's coming in September. And in the newsletter, we will give you the exact date in September and the specific topics. Also, Pod Movement is coming in August. And Elizabeth, do you recall what there was a discount we have?
I don't recall, but we will put it in the newsletter and we'll be sending out emails too.
Okay. Yes. So in August, if anyone wants to know about it, I mean, Google podmovement.com. It's in August. The 3 of us are going to be there as of this moment. That's the plan. So it's going to be very big. I mean, this is more of a very small community that we have, PodXperience, which is growing. But Pod Movement is tremendous. And so if you really want to kind of just learn a lot more faster, go to that. If you do, let us know, because we'd love to handshake and hugs. And then anything else I missed, Elizabeth?
I don't think so. So August, we're not doing anything because we're going to be at Podcast Movement down at the National Harbor near DC. And I'm going for the networking mostly. There's going to be a lot of education, which is really going to be wonderful. But you meet so many great people at these things. And we'll see all our friends from here too. And if there's people that are coming on here that we haven't met in person that can make it there and can find us, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Anything else from you, Mark?
No, I think that'll do it. I'm keeping my the
Yeah.
QR code up here. But I got
Thank you.
let me just quickly just say thank you all. I really appreciate everyone's time, and I hope we added some value to your podcast process. And as we've already said, we're happy to help you after this as well. So please don't hesitate to reach out.
And spread the word. PodXperience. You know, on Eventbrite, follow, and our meetup. That's how you'll also know what's happening in our newsletter. So thank you. Oh, thank you. I'm seeing some nice messages. So appreciate it. Feedback's a gift.
And I just found your coupon code PODDC20.
Perfect.
Excellent, Mark. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Really looking forward to that and to seeing people I know and meeting new people.
Yes. All right, everyone. Have a good night, morning, day, wherever you are. Bye.